Hey folks, it's your lovely DM, GM, editor, Don here. Sorry for the late release. If you're that person that listens to these as soon as they are released, had some stuff get in the way, and we're back on it. But before I let loose this episode, I have a nice interview with a lovely TTRPG podcaster. I had to do a little bit of editing wizardry on my tracks as my excitement got the better of me, and I didn't have my correct setup in place and backups. Everything sounds fine. It's just there's a couple tiny hiccups at the beginning, and then it's your usual middle tier TTRPG conversation that you've come to expect from Hexgrid Hangouts. So here it is, past Don. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Hello and welcome back to Hexgrid Hangouts. My name is Don, and this week I am joined by fellow podcaster Chris from the Critically Accursed podcast. I would have used your last name, Chris, but I realize I don't know that much about you. You're usually Chris, Critically Accursed, or by your rather lengthy name in the Eternal podcast. So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, please?
Right, yeah. So, okay, well, good guess. My name is Chris, or so I've been told. On the internet these days, I go by Critically Accursed, and I occasionally do stuff on the internet for the internet, such as the actual play tabletop RPG podcast that I occasionally publish about superheroes in the future. The year is 2172, and there's a whole bunch of teenage superheroes growing up, and that's the real focus of my game. It's called Horizon, by the way, so if you're on the internet, you could probably just Google Horizon, and I'm sure it's the first result.
Oh, it's Horizon, but your Discord channel is called Heroes and Hormones, and like somewhere along the line that got stuck in my head, and that's what it's been. So we're going to talk about your current show, but with these I like to go all the way back to when you first started in TTRPGs. So what got you hooked? What introduced you? How long you've been doing it? And if you want to dunk on some systems, this is a safe place. I'm just going to laugh.
Dunking on systems? Okay. Shadowrun character creation is overly complicated and takes about 8 hours. It's why I'll never play Shadowrun again. There's my system dunk.
Oh my god, and you're you're an experienced Pathfinder 1E guy, so the fact that you can say such things about Shadowrun, like, you know, I like Pathfinder, but Shadow,
Dude,
I tried making one last year, and I'm like,
you have to customize your character, and then you have to customize your cyberware, and then you have to customize your weapons, and it's like 8 hours of homework to make one character that's probably gonna die.
It was a one shot, and I said, hey man, can you just give me a pre-gen? And he's like, I don't do pre-gens. I'm like, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good response, Don.
In the same kind of whiny voice I just did there, I did it via text.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I manfully backed out and said my schedule would not allow this much homework for a one shot.
Right. And then you blocked and deleted the contact, right? So you wouldn't have to deal with any consequences.
I forget who did it. Yeah. I've either blocked them and they're gone from my life, or I've suppressed who it was, and I'm just blissfully unaware at this point who.
Yeah.
They meant well. Shadowrun, I've heard nothing. Okay, this doesn't have to be the Shadowrun Dunk podcast, but I feel for you. That character creation is a beast, and I just wished it had been anything more than a one-shot, and I could have risen to the occasion. So, yes. Shadowrun, not your favorite system.
Conceptually, I like it. It's just the character creation is a huge hurdle to get over for me, and that's just me. You know, I can appreciate people who really like that stuff, but yeah. So the big critically accursed history, Don, is that what you're asking me for?
Yes.
Okay.
That is exactly it. And also, you said you go by critically accursed.
Yes.
Something I've noticed in the last month, I put myself out there. I'm in several Discord servers. Too many, some say. And some people, actually, it's not just one person in one server, have been starting to calling me Hexgrid. And I'm like, no, that's my show. I'm Don. I'm like, you don't care. And in fact, if I can keep Hexgrid on your mind, you can call me Hexgrid.
I might start calling you
Hexgrid. And I've started, please do. I've started to embrace it. I'm like, oh, you know what? If that's what it takes, I will shed Don. Don is dead. I am Hexgrid. Please like and subscribe.
Hexgrid first name, Hero's last name. Perfect. Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much is it to legally change your name? We can all pitch in and do like a GoFundMe.
$200.
Oh, it's only 200. Okay, cool.
Only.
So if
Yeah.
200 fans all donate $1, we can make this a reality.
Yeah, and if OnlyFans did it, I could go on OnlyFans, and that will. Okay, this is a terrible.
Tell us more about your
joke.
OnlyFans, Hexgrid.
There's not one, but there might be. I'll do some research in the off time. But so you go by Critically Accursed. It wasn't just tabletop role playing game podcast that you were doing. You were doing something even before that.
Yes, the before times on the internet. So when I first donned the mask that is Critically Accursed on the internet, it was the moniker I used for a YouTube channel, because I was getting together with some friends and I was like, hey, you know what's popular these days? Let's plays. Everyone's doing them. We could be successful doing them. We were not, but the YouTube channel's still there, and the name just kind of stuck because I like the name, so I just use it for everything now. Yeah,
it's good. Mm-hmm. And you can always go back to the YouTube stuff. Like it's always there.
Yeah, I could go back to editing Let's Plays for zero payoff. That was great.
But then, so what was the progression like to, like, you know what, I'm tired of Let's Plays on YouTube. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on a little homebrew Pathfinder 1E podcast. What was the bridge between the two?
I think they overlapped briefly, because Sean, who runs Eterna, I think we kind of followed each other on Twitter, and then he found my YouTube, where the first thing I posted to it was a Let's Play of a D&D game called Eye of the Beholder on the Game Boy Advance. And apparently, like, that's a game he remembers, so he brings that up to me every once in a while. But when he put out his petition for, like, hey, if you want to play in an actual play Pathfinder game, sign up and we'll interview you, I saw it, and at the time, I was like, this sounds like something I could do. I need other things to do in my life. So I threw my hat into the ring, and he apparently, I don't have the exact quote, but he was psyched to have someone of my status just because I had like a Let's Play YouTube channel, but I only had like 20 followers. But he thought it was neat. So the interview went off pretty well, and then the rest is history. I was in the podcast, and still am in the podcast, technically.
Technically, yes. Actually, technically, yeah, you're going to be in it for at least another year. So
it's eternal.
Congrats, man.
Eterna is eternal.
Yeah. You know what? This is probably going to come out before the reference I make to the Eterna. You know what? I'm going to have it put after the episode. So I'm going to spoil a little stuff. I know you listen voraciously, Chris, but in the last episode of Hexgrid Heroes, the crew is back in civilization, in the New York City of the system, of the setting, and the cleric, not the cleric, he's not a cleric. Well, he's basically a cleric. The healing Asimar Lemon was invited to a auditorium play by their whatever you call their version of the Pope, and he was invited to have a little conversation. And the Pope, we'll call her Sci-Fi Pope, and was watching a production of something called The Eternal Struggle. And where rats were vaguely mentioned, the table of Blackfang Keep. What was it?
Wasn't it just the Black Keep?
Oh yeah, I think it was the Black
Or
Keep.
Elf
So like
Murder
I made
Castle,
like these
I think was the other name.
yeah. I was making a bunch of subtle references to the Eterna podcast. Meanwhile, Sean is just like silently sitting in his chair, not getting any of my references until the very end, when I said, crap, what did I say? They were headed out to, oh man, I don't even remember the punchline to this story.
Oh no.
But basically, I made something that was like glaringly obvious. I was trying to be subtle. I thought he'd pick up on where rats. I thought the heroes on the stage were having a difficulty fighting with a table, and I thought the table was a dead giveaway, and I did all these things, and like I said, like the very last thing, he's like, "Oh my god, you son of a bitch!" He didn't say son of a bitch, but he's like blown away. I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, I've been okay, not important, but you're in that podcast. Those of you listening to this and that listen to that episode of Hexgrid will know, like that's all of that was pulled from your guys' podcast over there, because that's how I was introduced to Sean. That's how I was introduced to you and your clever banter.
Don't give me too much credit.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to disparage any of your other cast members, but like Riley Morheim of the Riley Morheim Guild had some stage presence.
Yeah, he had charisma. I had to role play that up.
Yeah.
A little bit more charisma than I do have, me, personally. Real life words. Yes.
Yeah. So you get the interview,
Yes,
you
yes.
do that. We can speed through the history of that. It's a real fun podcast. Sean's down on himself a lot because we're all down on our own projects a lot. That's just the nature of the beast. But you ran for like, I think you guys have as much of a runtime as many as many hit TV shows, as long as it's going to take for all the episodes to come out. But you did that for a good long while. I came in as a side character for a little bit, and we finished recording in December, right? The finale was in December of 2020.
The recording of it? That sounds about right.
Yes. Yeah. So it'll be fun to see when that finally airs, because I like oh, you know what, I know we made references to stuff then. Like, it's just fun for me when I listen to podcasts, especially when I'm like doing a binge and they'll make a reference to something, like, oh man, I can tell when they recorded this.
Yeah, right.
So I'm looking forward to some dated references and jokes from us. So we're now in July of the following year. You and me have stopped recording in the Eterna podcast. You set off to do your own thing. So tell us all a little bit about Horizon.
Sure, yeah. So, like I kind of briefly mentioned, Horizon is a actual play podcast that takes place in the distant future of 2172 in this metropolis city called Horizon City. And the world itself is a world where technology and culture have really stepped up in terms of stepped up leaps and bounds from where we currently are. Like, there's smart clothing. There's still Nokia flip phones for some reason. Cars drive themselves. A lot of funky stuff. We're very lenient with the sort of way we handle technology. But the real draw and what I like about how Horizon has been going is we paint the story heavily influenced by comic books, because it's a story about teenage superheroes. So when we run it and when we describe scenes, we try to describe scenes in terms of comic book panels. So instead of saying someone walks through the door and says this to you, we see a panel where this person walks through the door and their speech bubble says, X, Y, and Z to you. And we get some really interesting imagery from that, I think. And it's been a very interesting experiments and pretty fun to record. But yeah, the system we're running off of kind of caters to that pretty well. For those of you familiar with Powered by the Apocalypse, it's a subsystem of that, or a system using Powered by the Apocalypse as a concept, and the system's called Masks, which the entire premise is focusing on teenage superheroes growing up and figuring out who they are and who they want to be. And also fighting crime.
And I should point out, like, when I first heard about this and started listening, this was before I knew about the TV show The Boys, the TV show Invincible, the TV show Jupiter's Legacy. So, like, when it wasn't pitched to me, it's just like, hey, Chris is doing this thing, check it out. I'm like, oh, hell yeah! I love me a crunchy rules combat RPG like the rest of everyone, but hearing your story being told by your players and the feedback that you guys I've never played Powered by the Apocalypse, any of the numerous systems it uses or that use it, but the collaboration between like, oh, you know what do you think about this? What do you think about what does this look like?
Hmm.
And I just cheer inside when it became clear like you were all like developing not just the story, but you were developing the feel of the show. That the panels thing is just beautiful. It's like I love it. It's so good. It's so descriptive. You like you know other GMs this other GMs could take a leaf out of your book and be like, hey, you know what? Let's before we get into the combat and the role play, let's take a step. Let's take a beat and delve more into what this scene looks like, and it comes alive, and I love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the fun things about Powered by the Apocalypse, based on my experiences with Masks, anyways. It's the only one I've ever really run or played. Um, but it seems to be a system that's set up to give room for that, for everyone to participate more in developing the overall story. It's not just the DM is describing the setting and takes control of the setting on one side of the table, and then the players just have their individual characters on the other side. It kind of blends the two in a really fun and unique way, especially when you start looking at some of the mechanics involved in the system and how they handle die rolling and what those mechanics actually do to the story, and vice versa. I would strongly recommend anyone who's only played crunchy systems to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and at least look at it. Look at the book, give it a read over, and if it kind of gets some ideas flowing, to give it a try, because I think it's a worthwhile thing to do to improve how you understand tabletop games.
100% agreed. And I'll tack on a little more to that. Like, as a player in some of these crunchier things, sometimes I'll just use me for example. Like, I'll be in the scene, sure, I'm in the party, we're all here playing the game. That relationship between GM and player in a crunchier system, it feels like, if there's a GM screen there or not, it feels like there's a wall between us, and sometimes, trying to pierce that, trying to buy in, having a system where that wall isn't there as much, and where you're building together is something I very much enjoy. There's a legally distinct Star Wars game I'm starting. I've gotten interested in that I'm going to be starting running folks in. It's GMless, and it's my first GMless
Oh,
system where it's more. I mean, there's dice, but it's more or less 2 to 6 people telling a story together, and how each character relates to you will all take turns setting scenes and establishing things, and it's I've only 2021 20, so I guess 8 years 7 years I've been playing tabletop games. It feels like I've tapped into something I've never really experienced,
yeah.
and I'm super excited for the dichotomy of GM and player. It's gone. Like, it's just
Yes.
we're just here, we're just hanging out, and what dice rolls happen, they will happen, but like the collaboration, it just feels so good. And
Right, right.
I get that when I hear Horizon, when I hear your heroes.
When you hear the hormones.
Yeah, I almost said heroes and hormones again. It's stuck in there. Whichever one of you coined that phrase, it's permanently buried in my head, and it's on all the podcast places. So if you're listening to this, you can find Horizon very easy, and I'll be sure to link it in all of the socials.
All the socials. Yes. Right, right.
Yeah.
Before I forget, do you have a name for that system you were describing? Because I'm super interested in GMless systems.
Oh yeah. Oh sure. Yeah, I was gonna float it to the gang in the Discord server we recently started, which is an in ungainly and ham-fisted, as I scroll, segue into another reason. I mean, I've wanted you on. You're a great guy to talk to bounce off of.
Allegedly.
I'm in the wrong. That I wanted to get you in to chat about this. We've created a Discord server where the Horizon podcast, Hexgrid Heroes, Dice Benders D&D and the Eterna podcast are kind of pooling together, and instead of
Oh,
four
mingling.
separate,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of mingling, dwindling servers. We're just like, we're all pals. We chat a fair bit, so we've banded together, and now combined in a loose conglomeration, we roll dice.
Yes, we roll dice. It's the name of the server because we all roll dice, and it's off to a nice start, I think. Even though we haven't opened the gates yet, as of time of recording.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we did a soft open with all the casts. Most of my casts are in the other podcast as well. There's a lot of like cross feeding going on. So those of my casts that haven't joined are those of my casts who don't do much at all on Discord. So that's fine. It's all voluntary. We're all just hanging out. And yeah, we've done a soft open. This will come out about a month after we're live. But why don't you tease the listeners what kind of things to expect in this server that we're building and growing together?
yeah, so I guess to start with, we roll dice is primarily the primary thing. Actually, I wouldn't even say the primary thing is just to highlight our podcast. I would say the primary thing is to build a tabletop community, to give people interested in tabletop games and discussions and playing games online yet another option to go to on Discord, because Discord's a great application. It's a great program, and I think it's brought a lot of people together. And part of the idea is just giving people a space to do that. Giving fans of our podcast a space to commingle and talk about tabletop and talk about our podcast and talk to us, because I love meeting people who are at least mildly interested in the stuff I do. That's usually pretty cool, I guess.
Shared interests, not something to turn your nose up at.
Right.
Also, I'm going to throw in just a little bit right here. Currently in the We Roll Dice thing, we're because it's summertime, where most of us are at in the world, hair and heat. And Sean, I know you're listening to this. You have got a head of hair on you, sir. You are like Fabio, with like zero self-esteem. But the mane of hair I'm looking at on the Discord right now, primo hair, bro.
Oh, goddamn. Okay, I didn't even see that.
Right?
Fuck.
Luscious locks, I would even go as far as to say. But you'll have to join our Discord to do a deep search and find this when this episode comes out. I got a little sidetracked. I wanted to post the link to that
Yes.
not Star Wars GM-less system. But yeah, that's
Right.
So community is the biggest. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, I mean, as we're saying, We Roll Dice is a Discord server primarily dedicated to looking at pictures of Sean and his luscious locks of hair. He updates the Discord daily with a new selfie. Usually he rocks different hairstyles, and we give him some opinions on what we think. I know the name We Roll Dice is kind of misleading in that regard, since it's mostly about hair, but, what can you do? I think that about sums it up.
Yeah,
right?
it's more than just hair. I mean, there the directory of channels is pretty self-explanatory. We talk from everything from hair to our dogs, our dog's hair,
Right.
and hair that we get on ourselves. Okay, that joke kind of died there, but yeah, it's just a great community, and we're not even. We got less than 20 people, and we're just having a great time feeling each other out, introducing ourselves, just like finding that we have so much fun stuff to chat about. And it's going to be a place where we're going to be having not recorded tabletop games taking place. We have a couple people just itching for us to go fully live so we can start recruiting these things, myself, one of them. So, if you like this kind of dicking around, joking around with each other, banter, is going to be that times at least 10 over on our Discord server.
Yeah.
I can't stop looking at Sean's hair.
It's mesmerizing,
it's distracting
isn't it?
me. I'm rolling away. I'm scrolling
That's
back.
good willpower, my friend. Uh, yeah, but even in addition to just having a space to run and play in tabletop games, and talk about tabletop games, we're also hoping to host at least some weekly events. I'm already hosting what I'm calling Friday Film Night or Friday Film Fest, where I stream a couple of movies every
Hmm.
Friday evening for anyone on Discord to just hop in voice chat, watch the movie, chat a little bit. It's usually a pretty good time, and that happens every Friday. Every month, we have a different movie
Hmm.
theme, and people throw in nominations, and we pick randomly. Everyone has seemed to love it. I've been doing it for several months now, and I'm very psyched to move what I'm currently doing on my own server into We Roll Dice for a wider community presence.
Hmm.
Yeah. But in addition to that, we're also planning to stream maybe some cartoons on Saturday mornings. If you like waking up in your pajamas and eating cereal and watching cartoons with your best buds. Saturday night anime is also a thing we're hopefully going to start streaming. Um, and I know Frog is kicking off Tabletop Tuesdays, so we can inspire more people to get into the DM chair and try out some new systems and just get regular games going. So we have events planned, and it should be fun. And if you don't like any of that, we'll just play with ourselves, I guess.
Like we were going to do anyway. You'll just be missing out. Very, very good. I've successfully clicked and scrolled away from Sean's hair. I'm back in this
I'm very
conversation
proud of you. So,
fully.
Don, let me ask you a question. I'm turning the table,
What's
spinning
up,
it
man?
around. What are you most excited for
Please.
about our fancy new Discord server?
Uh, Most excited for is just I don't. I'm at a place where I've been doing this podcasting thing for a while now. So if you had asked Don, if you had asked Hexgrid
Mhm.
3 years ago, it was like, oh, more listeners, please. At this point, if you want to listen to my fun sci-fi stuff, go for it. If not, that's fine. We can hang out and do other things on there. But what I'm most interested in is just like more pals,
Yeah.
more friends. I like the consolidation of servers. Like, I love Discord. It's very handy to use.
Hmm.
I spam my links every week of my new episode, and sometimes it just feels like it's a bit of an echo chamber. So, or not even echo chamber, a brick wall.
Yeah. No.
The opposite. So having these groups, because I see like, Frog's server is hopping
Ah,
sometimes. That was intentional.
gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, your server just flies by, and
That's not a pun, but
it's
okay.
fun. I mean, heroes fly. Some
Well,
of them.
okay.
I don't know.
That's a good stretch.
It was a stretch, like Mr. Fantastic in the
Oh
Fantastic
shit! There we
Four.
go. We got it.
Nailed
Nice.
it. I know what I'm doing.
Wow.
So like, just seeing all these communities that I like, I bump up against, and like, hey, I'm cool too, right? And just like getting a chance to like consolidate that, be that person for all of them, and like, just like I'm you have some of your cast members over there. I'm not great with real person names. I'm better with character names. But seeing some of your
Oh
cast there
yeah.
and like, oh, you're them, and I getting a chance to bounce off them and just to see what other people are interested in, and the that feeling of a new project where really the only project is just hanging out.
Having a good time.
It's pretty
Yep.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually when I start a project, it's pull my hair out, trying to find people, stay up late trying to make it fun, and then pull teeth trying to edit it to make it sound polished. And this is just like, oh, we're just migrating over, like my server. We get a little chatty, but there's not a whole lot there, so it's easy jump for me to be like, hey guys, we're still gonna be here, but if you want to talk about this and even more cool stuff, come here. So a long way to say I just want to meet folk,
Yes.
just hanging out and like actually like because all these servers I'm in, sometimes I'll scroll and I'll miss it for a day or two, and then like I'll miss 2 full days of inside
Yup.
jokes, and I'll feel like the new kid in school, which not a great feeling, especially when like you're trying to like, you're trying to latch on to a moving boat, and everyone's like, "Oh, you don't know that joke?" I'm like, "Okay, give me 30 minutes to scroll through all the
Yeah.
jackassery, and then I can get on your level." And this way, we're all together, we're all hanging out, and everyone involved, we all share the same values, and one of which being like community and giving back to
Yeah.
it. So like I feel like one of the things that kind of kicked us off together to do all this was, listeners of my show will remember her as the android paladin of Iomide, Rhapsody. Tracy has some pretty bad health. She's been through the ringer health wise and through the American Medical For-Profit Institute.
Yep.
Has been just hell on her. So we banded together to like, hey, she's our friend, we love her, let us do something. And we all did our part, some more than others, but like there was no like there's no hierarchy. Is another thing I like. Like there's no like no one person to report to. Chris, you've been the organizing lead as far as the Discord, and that's just because you're great at organizing.
Yes.
And one of the things you also have are a lot of connections to a lot of different cool people. So what you and we all did was got a fundraiser together going and raised enough money to take care of that moment's biggest health scare.
And it's probably worth mentioning at this point that before that had happened, I think all of our podcasts, like we all talked and stuff here and there, but we were kind of off doing our own things. But like you said, kind of the fundraiser was a good unifying point where I think we all kind of began to realize that not only are we basically in the same social circles and know all the same people, we're also doing pretty much the same thing, and we kind of share fans. We're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And what really helped kind of open my eyes, and I think this is a good point to bring it up, is that a lot of some people in my podcast and some of my associates, some of the friends I have on the internet, are part of another Discord server called We Play Games.
Mm-hmm.
And that server is dedicated to video games and streamers. And they've been going for, I think, several months now. And their servers kind of just kept growing because they have a few main streamers on it, and they just invite all of their chats to Discord, and it's great. It's an awesome time. They have a great community there, and it was, I would say, even largely due to the eyes that We Play Games has kind of pulled into the fundraiser. Us just kind of like hanging on to the side with our little tabletop books saying we're helping too.
Yeah. We're gamers too, guys.
Yeah. But streaming reaches a larger audience, I think, than tabletop podcasts, just to put it bluntly. And between all of our streamer friends and then all of our tabletop friends, we all just got together and we put together events. And we did this fundraiser for Tracy, and we met our goal, which was great. But I think we all walked away from that realizing that, there's a lot we can do in terms of joining forces, quote unquote, or just, having each other's backs to some extent and getting together and doing stuff together. I think that's kind of what set us down this path.
Yep. We had one of the bigger conversations we had as a as a foursome.
You didn't have to say foursome, but okay.
I think I did. No, I didn't. That was unnecessary, but I stand by it. We had a conversation, and to keep spreading the love, Frog of the Dice Benders podcast, and currently playing the Otter Boy Keat in my podcast. He wanted to get everyone together because you two were talking about stuff. We just wanted to touch base on things, and we discovered like all of what you said is true. But even more so, we all use the same editing software.
Yes.
We all use the same cast members, more or less.
Yes.
And today I needed a sound file, and I couldn't find it in my usual go-to, so I'm like, I need help. And I was like, I need... what did I need? I needed wind music, or I needed ambient music, or ambient sound for a windy scene, and like... You were like, hey, if you can wait, I got just the thing. I just used it today. Sean hipped me to something. Frog immediately like, you know what? I'm going to need a Western Canyon vibe myself soon. I'm like, we really are just doing the same shit. And I fucking love it. And like, our shows are not similar. I mean, we all have a fair amount of jocularity to them, but like we have Eterna's Cosmic Horror Pathfinder, my sci-fi irreverent sci-fantasy Starfinder. I guess technically what Frog's doing at Dice Benders is still D&D, but it's so heavily homebrewed, it's almost his own system. And then you're playing Powered by the Apocalypse, and like with superheroes, like it's just
Completely
so cool
different.
how
Yeah.
completely different. There's zero similarity between any of our shows, and yet we found it within ourselves to be like, hey, you know what? We're stronger together. Let's do this shit. And it's just that's the biggest thing for me is just finding more opportunities to be like, oh, that same, and then just kind of just teeing off on that stuff and just finding out like the world is vast, people are different, but it just feels so good to come together for shit.
Right, exactly. And talking not just to you, Hexgrid, but to whoever is hearing my voice right now. We'd love to hang out with you. Like, if you're the sort of person who I think is listening to me and Hexgrid talk right now, I think you're probably the type of person who would hopefully feel comfortable in We Roll Dice and hanging out with us casually, day to day, on a Discord server. If you find what we're talking about interesting, well, you can get more of that, right? So, I look forward to meeting people, and hopefully this helps get the word out about our new upcoming server.
Yeah. Which will be about a month. It'll be alive for a month by the time this comes out. But yeah, super excited. Please let everyone know when you join in that this is what brought you here. Give me a little pep in my step. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, also, you're really doubling down on the calling me Hexgrid thing, and I appreciate your commitment.
I have to say it a lot so it sinks in so that I never mess it up. Because I will never call you by that other dead name ever again.
It's not my dead name. All right, perfect. Okay, so I don't. So with these, like, I don't take any sort of notes. It's legit just a hangout. So I don't have like a Q&A for you. We got your current scheduling of where we can find you to listen. Oh, social media. Where can we find you in particular if we want to call you out for your rules lawyering?
Yeah. If you
or to rules lawyer you, I guess is a better.
If you want to tell me how wrong I am in running my podcast, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. That's probably the best place to find me. I'm occasionally active. My Twitter handle is at the letter C Accursed. That's at C Accursed. I don't know how else to say that. That's not confusing. But you could also just like search on Twitter for a Critically Accursed podcast, and I should pop up. Other than that, I do have a Facebook page. I do have the YouTube channel, I guess, if you want to see my old Let's Plays and some of my stream uploads, because I do stream a Sunday night D&D game that I play in, and some other stuff once in a while.
Tell people about that, because the circles we run in, it's kind of infamous. Oh, because it's great. Geez. My Sundays are typically like I don't get to listen in much. I don't get to watch in much at all. But it's like the talk of the town if our community could be considered big enough to be a town. So tell everyone about that shit.
So astute listeners may or may not have noticed me kind of pause slightly before I said D&D game. And the reason is because the Sunday night game I'm in that I play in is over on the they just changed their server name. The Time to Die Network. Time to Die Network, which was formerly the LCP D&D Discord server. Yes. Great bunch of people over there. Always a blast on their server. I am always entertained and or grossed out when I pop onto their server. And they one of the guys, I think you might actually know this guy, huh, Hexgrid?
Yeah.
Eric runs a D&D game, and it's off the rails is putting it lightly. But
Captain Brasha from our show, played by Eric, when he's not being an asshole in my podcast, in our game. I say my podcast, our podcast. Sunday, he's running you through just like sometimes he messages me. I'll ask him like, "Hey, how's the game going?" He'll say, "Were they fighting walruses?" I don't know. You guys fight some weird ass shit, and there's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm throwing this and this at them because they're being dickheads about something." Something about dwarves. Were you guys being assholes to dwarves sometime in the last month or two? Mm-hmm. Yeah. He regaled me with some of that. Yeah. So that's over in the Time to Die Network's Discord server. The artist formerly known as the LCP D&D crew.
Yes. But I stream that Sunday nights. It starts at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on my Twitch channel, which is Accursed as well. Let's double check that. It's twitch.tv/C Accursed is my Twitch. Okay. And I stream Magni's Adventurers Guild every Sunday that we play it. It usually lasts about 2 hours. And just a little bit of insight. Currently, what we're doing is we've taken over a restaurant, and we're rebranding the restaurant. Mind you, we're level 10 PCs. We're rebranding the restaurant that we took over after the chef fled because we were about to talk to him about the condition in which he kept the animals in the kitchen. Chef fled, no one else there. We take over the restaurant just because, I guess. Who else is who's going to stop us? And we decide to name it the Cheeses of Nazareth. And we're going to serve primarily cheeses. So we're on an adventure over to the city of Nazareth to make a cheese trading deal to supply us for our restaurant.
Real grimdark shit. Yeah. Super serious.
Mm-hmm. Proper level 10 NP or proper level 10 PC stuff right there. Big adventures.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Very good. Love it. You got that pretty soon tonight, don't you?
Sundays, my friend, not Mondays.
I've had the last 2 days off, and it feels like I've had 1 day off, but I also feel like I've had 5 days off. So my brain's a bit
time doesn't even exist.
Not mush. I feel great. It's fucked. It's fucked. So right on, cool. Definitely check it out. I definitely gonna try and make my appearance there more because I can't remember what Eric was telling me a couple weeks ago, but he's like cackling as he's talking about it. I'm like, you don't cackle like that in my game, but okay, I'll see what fun you're having over there at Magni's. And yeah, so cool. Yeah, we'll definitely have to link up, check that out, and spam the chat for that. Social media, your shows.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's like me in a nutshell. Oh, I also have a Facebook page for people who still pay attention to Facebook. I'm not going to tell you what it is. If you really want it, you'll be able to find it.
I think if you search the words critically accursed in Facebook, you're going to find like a vastly different field of information than like if you were actually looking for you on Twitter. Like I feel like just Facebook's Facebookness.
Hey, guess what? If you Google critically accursed Facebook, I'm the first thing that pops up.
Right on. Hell yeah.
I hope this is me. Thing. That would be embarrassing. Oh yeah, it is me.
Okay, cool. So am I. Oh, I have a rating of 5 from 1 vote, and I know who that one is because it was me. So right on. If you're still on Facebook, if you're still listening, check out Chris at Critically Accursed, at C Accursed on social medias, at the Magni's Adventuring Guild.
Close enough.
Company?
A guild. It's
I had it in my head that
Magni's Adventurers Guild, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Magni's. I mean, search YouTube Magni's. How many Magni's things can there be?
True.
And the always entertaining Horizon podcast, wherever you get podcasts.
Yeah, listen to my podcast at the very least. Try it out. See what you think.
Yeah. Or if you don't listen to it, do what other people do for me and just download. Like, I don't need you to listen and regale me with things you did or didn't like if that's not your thing. If you just want to download all the episodes,
yeah,
that's kind of a cynical way of looking at it.
Just inflate those numbers and make me feel good, man.
Yes, give us that serotonin. I think that's the one.
Close enough. Yeah, I think so.
Whatever. One of the brain drugs.
yeah.
All
The big
right.
brain
I'm
drugs.
going to close this off. I don't really have a sign off.
Amazing.
But Chris,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with
Yeah,
me.
anytime.
And I can't wait to hang out with you again.
Yeah, for sure. You know my number. No, you don't, but you know how to find me.
Yeah, I could probably get your number from Tracy.
Could.
I could.
Oh no.
Dear Tracy.